So in 1988, we started a project called Project Seva and chose Thanksgiving as the day that we would serve those less fortunate than us. And that tradition was shared at the National Indian Associations, and it's become their project. And it is estimated that around Thanksgiving time, we feed about 125,000 people all over the country. In Cleveland in particular, we started a program at St. Coleman. Good Indian, good Irish. Maybe correlated. And right after 9/11 occurred, it is the Holy Rosary Church that wanted to serve the meal at St. Coleman, and we said, all right, if they want to do it, it's all for a good cause. But immediately the outreach minister, shortly after that event, called me and said, since they didn't see a turban, they said, is he related to Osama bin Laden? And of course, next month I went there and I clarified, talked about who we were and so on. And I thought it is passé till I was participating in St. Patrick's Day parade with a green turban and a green jacket. And we were waiting for transportation, and somebody went by talking to his buddies, looked at me, and then all I heard was Osama bin Laden. Maybe it was not me, but what can I say? Once suspicious, that suspicion doesn't go away. So again, this opportunity of sharing with you who we are, the contributions that we have made and continue to make and will make with our future generations. I want you to be a supporter. Next time, if anybody remarks, is he Osama bin Laden, you say he's a Sikh. And that'll help. And now I will ask Jasjit, who has come from Washington, D.C., and our future generation that is going to carry the torch of American Sikhs, to share the experience of SALDAF and how they are overcoming. Again, it requires support because we are part of the mosaic and the turbans will be there.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for attending. This is an enormous honor for me. There's the obvious reputation of the City Club, additionally being here with community leaders and someone whose books I grew up reading, Dr. I.J. Singh. I told him earlier about this, that I grew up reading his books. He contested and said he grew up writing those books. I submitted to him that he may have already been grown up when he was writing them, but it is an honor to be here. So today I'd like to share with you my experience of being a Sikh American in a post-9/11 context. Before the tragic events of September 11th, I hadn't given much thought to being a Sikh American, per se. Sure, I was proud to be an American in the sense that I grew up listening to the Pledge of Allegiance, listening to the Star-Spangled Banner, loving football, loving baseball, all things American, right? Even my geography was a little bit suspect. But in all seriousness, I hadn't reflected on what my place was within the American mosaic, if you will. On September 11th, however, everything changed. As did most Americans, our community went through a range of emotions on that day and in the weeks following. There was disbelief. How could something of this magnitude happen? There was the obvious sadness with regards to the immense loss of life. And then there was anger and a feeling of upset that resulted from how could someone come to our country and attack us? However, that period was short-lived. There wasn't much time for grieving within this community, because before the sound of sirens in New York City had even disappeared, televisions across the country were flashing images of Osama bin Laden, a man with a turban and a beard, his followers brown-skinned, many of them also keeping beards. Then came the reports of backlash, instances of Sikh cab drivers being attacked, Sikh American school children being bullied and taunted, and Sikh air travelers being told they had to remove their religiously mandated turbans before they got on the flight. It was as if, overnight, an entire community of Americans was told, "You are not an American." The most tragic report came out of Mesa, Arizona, where a Sikh American gas station owner was gunned down in his place of work. Balbir Singh Sodhi wore a turban and kept an uncut hair, and for that reason, he was killed. He was the first person murdered in the post-9/11 attack hate crimes. Despite the national significance of his murder, almost none of the television reports or print media articles included a photo of him. An appalling fact, since he was killed for the very reason of his visible appearance. The lack of media coverage for Balbir Singh was sharply contrasted with that of another Sikh American, Sher Singh. Sher Singh was pulled off a train by authorities in Providence, Rhode Island for, quote, looking suspicious. The news that a possible terrorist suspect had been arrested spread like wildfire through the media. National media outlets quickly picked up the story. CNN, Fox, the Associated Press carried the story. Video clips of a young man with a turban and a beard being taken away in handcuffs flooded the airwaves. In fact, it was a case of mistaken identity. There was no crime here. The media had unfortunately managed to associate Sher Singh to those who perpetrated the attacks on 9/11 simply based on looks. In fact, they had ignored the real story here, that of racial profiling by authorities who arrested and harassed an innocent American. Beyond the issues with the media, Sikh Americans have dealt with serious concerns since 9/11. We suffer a disproportionate number of hate crimes and are routinely subjected to racial profiling. Additionally, we often are discriminated against in employment settings. These challenges, however, are not something new. In the wake of national and international incidents such as the Iran hostage crisis, the Gulf War, the Oklahoma City bombing, the ongoing war in Iraq, Sikh Americans have been through this before. Despite all these challenges, however, I see 9/11 as a unifying event in our shared history, something that makes Sikhs an even more integral part of America. Over the past 9 years since the attacks, we've developed strong relations with many branches of government and local law enforcement. Our outreach efforts have helped us educate countless fellow Americans about Sikhs. Additionally, for the Sikh American community, the events of 9/11 forced us to put aside our petty differences and focus on a common goal of educating our fellow Americans. In closing, I'd like to submit that education and acceptance are a two-way street. Regrettably, it took a tragic event to make not just the Sikh American community, but indeed our entire country realize that we need to come together to create a dialogue and ensure that we live up to the ideals laid out by our founding fathers and create a more perfect union. Thank you.